Drizzy and T-Money blasting off the map. Mic check one, we igniting the chat. Big thoughts, big laughs, real talk on tap. From the stars to your ears, it's a certified slap. We break limits, no rules, no fear. Dropping gems every week, loud and clear. Vibes interstellar, mind so clever. Tune in once, you'll be hooked forever. This the blast off, where the wisdom collide. Rocket fuel flow, let the convo ride. From the cosmos down to the city stride. Every episode another joyride. Catch the wave, let the banter take flight. Brainstorm sparking through the depths of night. Underdogs talking, put the world in sight. All killer, no filler, just truth in the mic. Zone out, let the speakers combust. In a convo with hosts you can trust. Groundbreaking spins, no fine gold dust. It's a must, turn us up, adjust. This the blast off, where the wisdom collide. Rocket fuel flow, let the convo ride. From the cosmos down to the city stride. Every episode another joyride.
Don't sneeze on me.
Sorry, T-Money.
Get the hell out of here, Drizzy.
Okay. Welcome back to the Don't Sneeze on Me podcast. Today, we're going to dive into the full resume of regret.
So how's it going today, Drizzy?
It's going pretty good, pretty good. It was a hot day today.
Oh, it really was.
Yeah, 90s.
And I know you're going to thoroughly disagree with me. I did not have my central air on today.
I will not disagree with you because you are here now with no central air, but my apartment stays so cool.
Quite comfy, comfy.
It's lovely.
So I have to say, I am very thrilled at the response we got last week from Aliens and Anal Probes.
Absolutely. It was, number one, I really enjoyed talking to you about it. Like, I loved hearing the stories that you had to share, but then some of the feedback I got from my friends who listened, they had their own little stories and tidbits to add in or commented on, and were excited about the stories we shared. So I really enjoyed that episode altogether.
Oh, so did I. I think the best part of it was that your mom said she really enjoyed it. So that really means a lot to me. That means a lot to me, but also means a lot to the show in general.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Mama. Appreciate it. Love you.
Yeah, thanks, Mama.
All right.
So, Drizzy, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you like where you work?
Oh, currently I actually love where I work. I'm very lucky to be where I'm at. But that hasn't always been the case. What about you?
Well, the job I have now, I would say, is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I searched for it when I was looking for it, but it kind of, my hand was kind of dealt to me, if that makes sense. It wasn't me looking for a job because I wanted a new one. It was me looking for a job because I needed one. But,
yeah, I was put in the same position.
Oh,
so,
yeah. You know, we all have those bosses that just don't get it. And the one thing that I really hope, I mean, I've been a manager. I know you've been a manager too. I think you actually managed me.
I did manage you. I was your supervisor.
Yeah.
But yes, I have pretty much always been a people manager of some sort.
So I always say that when I become a manager, I never wanted to do things like past managers. And I think I've done a good job with that. But I mean, there's none of my employees are here to verify that. So I will say that I hope that I wasn't as much of a jerk, to say it nicely, to my team as I've had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. I know that I've definitely made my mistakes as a supervisor in the past. I've definitely done things, but learned from them as I've gotten older and wiser. And I feel like now I've really grown into being a people manager and have learned from the poor and the really positive managers that I've had in the past and supervisors. But I feel like now I'm in a very healthy spot with my supervisor, with my job, where I'm at as a people manager. But like I said, not always like that. So yeah, I definitely have some stories about that.
Something I always took to heart, and my father and my mother were both involved in education. And they used to say, there are teachers that can teach, and there are teachers that can know the subject. And the teachers that can teach can actually tell you about the subject. But the ones that just know it, well, if you don't know it their way, then you're wrong. And it's the same way with managers. I think you have to learn to adapt to everyone's personality
Mhm.
because everyone learns differently.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And like how you manage people has to be unique to how they like to be managed and how they receive feedback. So you have to really tailor your management style to each individual.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've had some good jobs and some great managers, and then I've had the let's just say the managers from hell.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've
Absolutely.
had the jobs where I've dreaded walking into work.
Oh yeah, where you feel that
Oh,
that sick feeling
the
when you
pit
wake up
in your
on
stomach.
Sunday night when you wake up, you're like,
Ooh.
why am I still here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll share a story. So there's a company I used to work for that everybody's I'm sure is familiar with. They have they're a chocolate company. Let's just put it that way, and they have very colorful like characters on
All
TV.
right. What chocolate am I boycotting?
You're probably gonna boycott all of it because if you really realize they all work together,
Oh,
just like
that's
the
true.
gasoline companies all work together. So, but I will say, when I applied for this job, it was a junior accountant job. Now I have a financial background, but I don't know accounting. Accounting is a very difficult subject, and if you
Yeah.
really don't know what you're doing, you're gonna have a difficult time.
And
So
you would have had to like major in accounting specifically.
that's
Yeah.
why accountants become accountants. So what happened was I went for this interview. I failed the interview test, which was a simple test. It was
Yikes.
go in there, go on the computer, do a couple things,
Mm-hmm.
and you pass. I failed the test, right?
Oh, no good.
Then I definitely failed the interview
Oh.
because they were asking me accounting questions and I had nothing.
Of course, you're not an accountant.
I mean, they asked me like basic accounting questions, like just simple stuff like what would you call a depreciation in accounting? Like I didn't know the word
Shit if I
depreciation.
know.
I was like, like the product's no longer worth the same. Like it was like that type
Yeah, like
of
value depreciation.
it was such a
All right,
it was such a
logistics.
it was such a horrible answer, and they still hired me.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that just shows you that they really had no one for this position. I was probably the
And it
only
must have
one.
been your just stellar personality.
I mean,
I
either that or
guess.
I am. I mean, my father would say, Jack would always say, "You are a great bullshitter." And
Yeah. Well, that's why we get along. We
exactly.
both bullshit.
I mean, I said if I could have majored in bullshit in college, I would have had straight A's.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I will say that during my time with this very popular chocolate company, I think I lasted like maybe 2 or 3 months. I mean, I was there a very short time, and I was politely asked to resign or leave just because I did not know what I was doing. Like they literally said, it's just obvious you don't have the experience we're looking for. And I wanted to say to them during the exit interview, duh.
Well,
Like,
how long were you there?
like maybe like I would say 3 or 4 months.
Okay, but shouldn't they have recognized that in the interview process? Like clearly you didn't do well in the interview.
Oh, I know I didn't.
And they still chose to move forward with you.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what were their expectations?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that I could pick it up, but I mean, listen, I have a finance background. I am very good at what I do. And my current job does not deal with finance, but I'm very fluent in what I do with finance. I'm, an Excel pro, I would say. But, accounting is just a different animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they still hired me, but it's like you wasted like 4 months of my time. Like
That's-
you should have just told me no, and I would have been fine, and I would have moved on and found something that was more my speed. But I mean, like I said, that's just now that doesn't sound like a horrible job to have, but I mean, when I tell you it was bad, I mean the only perk about it was like free candy machines in the
Ooh,
entire
that's
building.
sold.
I've never taken home a book bag full of candy before until I worked for that company. So
Well, that's a pretty good perk. I mean, I might consider it.
it was good for the 4 months. After that, I think I was a little candied out. Let's put it that way.
After that, done, burnt out.
Hmm.
Um, so one of my very first jobs, I worked at a hair salon in downtown Chicago, and I was a salon assistant. So I did everything from reception work to, shampooing and cleaning the salon and all that good stuff. So, and it was a really fun job. Don't get me wrong, but my bosses or the owners of the salon, they were two sisters, and they were uh, unhinged, to say the least.
A
Unhinged.
very, very nice,
Um,
polite way of saying it.
Emotions up and down and just very extreme and very angry and would yell at you for nothing, but then they would just love you and adore you the next second.
Now, did they work well with each other, or were they the same way with each other?
They were kind of the same way with each other. They kind of just like nitpicked each other, but they also lived with each other. The whole thing was very bizarre.
That's way too much time together.
Yeah, they were in their like late 30s at the time. I was 18, and so I worked there as a salon assistant, and then so they hired my best friend, who was, an 18-year-old gay kid who had like basically like just come out of the closet, and was exploring like his future career and stuff. And while we were working together, they would just scream and berate us if anything was like not up to standard or not up to par, and just kind of make us feel like shit.
That's
And
weird.
him even worse. So like, but when they were nice, they were like the nicest people ever. They would tip us really generously, be so sweet and so kind and so like loving towards you. But then if you did something wrong, it was like off with their head. And him, they like, I remember this one time they were yelling at him in the stairwell to the basement, and like the owner of the salon called him like like one of the most derogatory terms, the most derogatory term you can call,
Oh
a young
boy.
gay male. And it just shocked him and took him back. And I didn't know until later that this had happened.
Hmm.
But they would have like bags of drugs falling out of their pockets on the salon floor and like scuffling to pick it up. They smoked weed like in the basement of the salon. We smoked cigarettes in the back of the salon. But I mean, it was a nice salon downtown Chicago, but we just it was very loose. Everything was very loose. But I just had such a toxic falling out with them and everything, and withholding my paycheck and just all this drama at the end of it. And I was just so happy to leave there at the end. But just
Did you leave by choice?
a combo. I think it was like I think we both knew. I was like, I was done there, they were done. I was like, and that was it. I didn't want to be there anymore. They didn't want me there anymore, and that was it. So it was kind of like a mutual like conversation on a phone call, or argument conversation kind of thing on a phone call. But
Yeah.
it was an agreement. So I didn't feel like I was fired. Like I don't think they felt like I quit, like anything like that. But it definitely just felt like I was leaving, you know. But I was glad to go. It was one of my very first jobs. It was a
Yeah.
very interesting experience. It was definitely not a professional development experience for me whatsoever, but I definitely learned a lot about toxic environments.
Well, I think that's what each job does, is it kind of teaches you what you do and don't want. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a lot to figure that out. I mean, I would say one of my very first jobs that I think I really enjoyed, it was for a clothing company. I won't mention their name, but they're a very prestigious clothing company. They usually go by two little letters, and I said I don't want to reveal too much, but I will call my boss, my director here. Let's just go with Danny the Dickhead, because he was I can't describe how how much this guy just despised me, and for no reason. I mean, for absolutely no reason. So the first incident occurred is now when I first got hired, I didn't have facial hair, and when I was working for this company, quite a few people that had recently got hired or that had been in the department, and because we were mostly males, started growing their facial hair out. So I decided that, maybe I would try it, see what I look like. I mean, there was that trend for a while where every guy kind of had like a beard or some sort of something going on recently. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't grow the greatest beard. It's not like it's patchy or anything like that. It's just very, I don't know. It's like it's not full. It's like, if that makes sense. Like it's not like really the greatest beard. I mean, I talked to my friends and they said this is how you fix it. And but it's just I wasn't really about the beard. But the first incident came was he asked me one time during a staff meeting when I was going to shave my beard. And that kind of caught me off guard because you work for corporate. You're not allowed to go after somebody's appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it was a weird appearance. It was just like a beard that other people in the department had.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got really bad. I went to lunch one day and I came back and there were facial razors left on my desk.
That's not okay. That is absolutely not okay.
No, I was really turned off by it. And like I didn't know who did it. I had an idea. And then one of my colleagues said, yeah, Dan put those on your desk. And I was just like it's like you were and you know what's made it worse is Dan had a beard. So it's like, okay, I understand if you don't have one and you don't want other people to have one, but for some strange reason, but at the same time, when you have one, okay, I get that it wasn't like a full.
Maybe yours was just that bad.
I mean, I have pictures of it. I'll show you. I mean, I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't look good with a beard. I'm just not a beard person. But it got worse, and I will preference this story by saying that when I used to work for this company, I would sometimes park in visitor parking, and I know you're not supposed to do that, but I'm also not the only employee that has done that, and I wouldn't do it every day. If I was running late or something like that, you use a visitor parking spot. So on this particular day that I happened to have parked in the farthest visitor spot like available, like it was literally right next to a normal spot. So that's how far it was. We went out to lunch for a colleague's birthday, and when we were coming back, Dan saw my car there and questioned me about it real quick. And I thought that was going to be that. But unfortunately, he brought me into his office after that. And not only did he yell at me like a parent yelling at a child about my parking spot, not like
unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, not. And I'm not exaggerating about the yelling. Like it was like a verbal, like, who do you think you are? Why do you think you're better than everybody else here? Blah blah blah. It was like stuff like that. It's like just not an appropriate conversation. And then he went on to say, something? You've been here a while, and just seeing your attitude and how you're nonchalant about this. And I was like, it's not that I was nonchalant. I just, listen, I parked in the visitor spot. Okay. Just tell me not to do it again. Like you caught me and you wanted to, take me down a peg. I won't do it again. But he goes, I'm not going to promote you ever. So there's no reason for you.
Terrible.
There's no reason for you to even be here anymore. So you should probably just, leave because you're not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to push you to go leave this position. And he goes, and and you're more than welcome to go to HR because they're not going to do anything to me. They're going to do something to you. They're going to get rid of you. They're not going to touch me because I am basically invincible here.
That is wild.
Like it was like a threat. And like, I think that's what really rocked me from that job. Like at that point I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore.
God,
and like,
if you could have recorded that conversation.
Oh yeah, I would have owned half this company. It would have been called, like T-Money figure. But whatever. But yeah, that one I was happy when COVID finally released me of that stupid job.
Sometimes it just sets you free from toxicity. I have a couple examples. Like one is me being the bad employee.
Okay.
And then another is like my boss being pretty shitty. But the first
I think the second one is usually more than the first, but we'll go with
All right. So the first one, I got a job at a very well-known coffee shop. It's one of the largest chains of coffee shops, very well known for being expensive and burning their coffee beans. Incorrect, sir. Incorrect. However, so at the time though, I was balancing another job as well, and actually had a third job. So I had 3 jobs at the time.
You're an overachiever.
Well, I had to hustle at the time. I was like 19. I had to get my act together. I had to make some money, all that kind of stuff. So I was there 2 weeks. And then at the time, the guy I was living with at the time, my boyfriend, rest in peace.
Okay.
I didn't kill him. Don't worry. He did it himself later, I think.
Real quick.
But he did it himself many years later. I didn't have to do it for him. So he broke up with me, and I had to move out pretty quickly. And then this coffee shop had me scheduled for a 4 a.m. shift. I said absolutely not. So I just that morning called in. I said, I'm done. I don't want to work here anymore, and I quit. And that was it. And just terrible exit. 2 weeks, and then I quit.
I was gonna say there's a 2 week leaving period.
Yeah, but I only worked there 2 weeks.
So you got to still do. 2
I was still in the training mode. So, but I quit, and that was it. Shitty employee. But I was also 19, and I was stressed the fuck out. So
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
I don't blame you.
Yeah. On the other hand, when I lived in Virginia and I was pregnant with my first child, pregnancy can be quite uncomfortable and pretty painful. And I was towards the tail end of it, and I was quite uncomfortable. And even just like walking from the parking lot was painful at times because it was a good distance where we were.
Yeah.
And then they enforced a rule that the staff had to park in the way off gravel lot. And that for me was very uncomfortable. I did it. I had to, but it was just very, very uncomfortable. This is before the day of like pregnancy girdles and like the pelvic supports that they have now.
I have a pelvic support.
Yeah, well, you need it for that. Anyways, so I was just very uncomfortable. And towards the tail end of the pregnancy, I was still personal training clients. I was still working regularly.
Damn, you really were an overachiever.
Yeah, I had to just bust my ass. So my boss at the time, I had a conversation with him. I said, hey, is it possible if I can park in the lot closer to the building? I'm having a lot of pains walking from the parking lot to the building. I had pelvic girdle pain. It's very common in pregnancy. And his response was, well, maybe you should walk more.
Oof. What? Oof. Did you hit him?
The CEO was sitting next across from him, or not the CEO. I apologize. The branch exec was sitting there.
Did his jaw
and
hit the table?
And who was married with children, and he kind of looked at him and he was like, shook his head no. He's like, no. And I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about, and you really need to watch yourself. And that was my supervisor. That was unacceptable, and it put him in his place. I said, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's an oversight.
He was also a kid. He was probably like 22 years old, and like thought he was hot shit.
Have to do with it?
He's like, oh, you're not in shape. It hurts because you're not in shape enough. So you should get in shape. I'm like,
it's not like I have a person inside.
I was a competitive power lifter at the time. Like, don't tell me I'm not in shape. I lifted regularly. I like exercise. Like, don't even tell me. Don't do that. So that was just pretty awful. So, but I don't understand why like bosses think that they can like, push you around and all that kind of stuff when you're making like $10 an hour. It's just crazy to me. Crazy.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, honestly, I understand, those first time jobs, like, giving not 110%, but when you go above and beyond, like the one job I had. Now, I as I said, I have a financial background, but I work in logistics. And the problem is when you start working for like a big company, well, you do your job. But when you go to a small company, well, now you wear multiple hats. And the problem with multiple hats is like usually, I would think that you would be compensated in some way or form, maybe extra days, PTO days, or maybe a little boost in the salary, a bonus.
A little something to balance it out, right?
Just a little, give me a little something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I worked for this company, and I won't say their name, but they reside in Piscataway. Let's just put it that way. Good old Piscataway. And the problem was that I came in as the young guy. I was the youngest guy in the company. I think there might have been one guy younger than me, but he had been there a long time, and he had checked out many years prior. And that was just the foreshadowing of what was going to happen to me eventually. But I got hired as a sales manager, I mean, I was in charge of bringing in new business, and it was told to me during the interview that I would have a team underneath me eventually as the company continued to grow, which they were planning on doing. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, we also need you to be the local IT guy for the entire company because, well, we don't want to pay an IT guy because they're expensive.
Oh, yeah, that's smart. Just use what you got.
So just because I happen to know a lot about computers and updating and all that and putting them together and doing networks and replacing just equipment, like literally replacing equipment. That was my second part of the job. And then I will say when I was at my one job, I did not have the Excel experience that I wanted. But as I've continued to grow and develop, I gained that experience.
You've learned it.
Well,
learned it. We've talked about Excel.
Yeah, Excel. I mean,
Yeah.
Anyone that is in corporate or even probably, I would say teachers now use Excel.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we use Google Suite at my job, which I quite enjoy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but,
Google Suite,
to each
Excel,
their own.
to each their own. They're exactly the same thing. But honestly, so I became the Excel guru. I knew how to do a lot of stuff, and this is before that.
Did you have a sash?
I wish I did. I asked for a private
I'll make you a
office
sash.
because I said I needed to concentrate.
You
But
do.
I didn't get it.
Should put it on your cards,
I got
too.
put out in the bullpen,
Oh.
as they used to say. And so this job, I really gave 110%. I'm not even joking. I really put in the extra effort here because I wanted to succeed here.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it's a small company. As they grow, then I'll grow with it. I'll get bigger. I'll be a VP, blah, 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 blah. Boy, was that a load of shit.
Ooh.
I think I put my face in the biggest pile of horse shit ever
Oh, no.
because I set up my replacement's computer 2 days before they conveniently let me go.
Womp womp.
Yeah. I watched them interview this guy, and I was like, man, that sounds a lot like my job. Really, but I was like, we're growing.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
bringing on new people.
Grow the team. Yeah, we need
Absolutely.
more.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they didn't need more people. They just needed different people. They fired me.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get severance, and they said, "Oh, well, your commission this month is very low, so we're keeping that too."
Wow.
I don't think either one of those is legal, but I mean, I gave you 2.5 years of my time. I did all this extra stuff, and my leaving prize was a fortune cookie, and good luck in your next job.
Essentially, go fuck yourself.
You want to know what the CEO said to me
What?
when I was leaving? He goes, "You weren't right here. You need to be in a big company. That's why we're letting you go because we can see that your potential is more for a big company."
What does that mean?
It means you don't fit in here.
You don't fit our
Go find another company. We don't want you to live. We don't want you to work with us. Yeah, the biggest bullshit excuse. Oh, you just weren't right here. You have
find a real reason.
You have the mentality of a big company.
That makes no sense.
I have the mentality of something, but it wasn't a big company.
No, absolutely not. But going back to when I was your supervisor.
That's ladies and gentlemen, that's how this relationship started.
Oh, yeah. Back in
She wouldn't leave me alone.
2020, the end of 2020.
Yeah, because it was still COVID.
Yeah. We
Wow,
were
it's been that
masked
long?
up. Yeah.
Ugh,
I know. I've been dealing with you for a long time.
you were a lot better looking with the mask.
Yeah, I was. Ooh, you too.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
believe me, I know. The-
mask blindness was the best.
The gray is coming in like a champion.
Oh boy, yeah. It's no, we call them mask fish. So like we would call anybody we saw attractive with a mask, we call them a mask fish because they took it off and you were like, oh,
I wish we still had masks on.
Yeah,
I
right?
would get lucky more
it
often.
makes everything better. Just keep your mask on.
Yeah,
6
exactly.
feet too. Stay away.
Keep the mask on even when we're doing stuff.
Anyways, but back to where we work together. I was your supervisor. And,
You were a good supervisor. I
thank
enjoyed
you.
working with you.
I really enjoyed working with you. You were a good employee. So you worked a couple hours a week, but you were great.
I mean, you could take a joke. You also understood my weird, stupid sense of humor.
Well, yeah, but that's just because we hit it
That's
off
what
as friends,
yeah.
though, right away.
But I mean, honestly, even as when you put on your boss pants
Mhm.
and would like sit me down and talk to me about stuff, like it was never bad stuff. It was always like, hey, just fix this, hey, fix that. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Like, so I appreciated that.
Well, awesome. Thank you. I try to be that way anyways. So I try to be a good boss, learning from these examples. But the bosses that that I had there and that you had to experience as well
Ugh, don't even get me started.
were quite horrendous.
They were witches with a B.
And they were not even my direct supervisors. But because of them, my direct supervisor was in another branch. I worked at 2 branches.
Yeah, I remember how this all went. Yeah,
Solely because of
and
these
he was
2.
actually pretty cool.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, yeah.
He was great. He's moved on to another
I
total
don't
association.
blame him.
Yeah,
But
he was wonderful.
He was meant to be in a more populated, bigger.
Oh, I cried when I gave him notice.
Yeah.
So I was actually sad to leave
he was
him
a cool guy.
because he was a great supervisor, excellent
I agree.
supervisor. But these 2 made the job just like it was just awful.
Ladies and gentlemen, the job that we used to work at has a song after it, so we won't say the name, but think of the fitness gyms that have a song named after them.
Yeah, the cowboy, the construction worker, the Native American. They have a group dance.
They have a cool little dance. Trump uses their music all the time.
It's just great, and they're all across
America
and the world. They're worldwide. Anywho, moving on.
Yeah.
It was just a really toxic environment, though. I would dread going to that branch, and the amount of like passive aggressiveness.
I mean, cattiness.
Oh,
Groups. If you weren't part of the clique,
oh my gosh, so
like,
cliquey,
get
but
the hell out.
just so nasty and ugly
all the
towards
time.
each other.
And it was every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Yeah.
day.
It was just awful. They really treated everybody so horrifically, and just they would make you feel very uneasy coming in. You felt like you had to walk on eggshells. Felt like you had to do everything just to appease them. But they would also like play you, like they would play your friend to try to get like information, try to get things out of you.
The branch manager's
to, like,
little butt buddy.
Oh yeah, try to get you to like nuzzle up.
Yeah, would
No.
play friendly with you just so he could go back.
Just so you could get the gossip.
Oh yeah,
and
so
get what other people are
and
saying.
tell the branch manager I hated him.
Nope, I saw right through that.
Ugh.
I saw right through it. But no, he's such a kiss ass. But they have both been exited out of that association and on to other things.
So before them, when I became actually a personal trainer, this was my first personal training situation. Now listen, I understand that when you have zero experience, it's hard to get a personal trainer job.
Yeah.
I get it.
Oh yeah, I did it for years, and like it's so hard to build a clientele. You have to do so many like free consultations.
Oh yeah.
Free first sessions and things like that to help like secure clients.
But you don't work for free.
No,
I mean,
you do not.
You get an hourly pay.
Absolutely.
So when I first went to this gym, there was a woman there. Her name was Brenda. And yeah, and me and her had been friendly for a very long time. She saw me working out in the gym all the time, saw how I coached people that I was friends with, and I thought that this was the right time to try to get a personal training job. She said, okay, well, you have no experience, so I want you to come in and for 2 weeks straight, you're going to work every day, but you're not going to get paid for it.
Were you certified?
Yes.
So you had to make an investment in your certification, but you're not going to get paid to work?
I had a NETA certification.
That doesn't make sense.
And she's like, yeah. And when you build up a clientele, then we'll put you on the pay scale. I was like, well, how about you let me do the floor supervisory, and then I'll build my clientele while I'm still getting paid per hours. I mean, we weren't getting paid much. I think it was like $10, something like that.
Yeah, it's just a floor supervisor shift.
You watch the gym, you make sure people are doing stuff right. You coach them.
If anybody has questions, they need help on a machine. Yep.
I was like, I'll walk around with my personal trainer shirt on. I was like, I'll build clientele because I'll start communicating and talking to people.
Yep, that's how it
works.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get paid the personal trainer, pay amount when you get a first client.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I want you to just come in and work for free.
That's absolutely unacceptable. That's abuse.
I was like, I don't even think you could do that. Like, how do you present that to HR? This guy's going to work for free, and then if he does good, then we're going to hire him. I mean, talk about, like, rude, but also at the same time, like, just degrading.
It's like you have the certification, so
Yeah.
you should
And they're not cheap
theoretically
certifications.
have the knowledge,
Another
right?
certification is $400.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, so I had to work for free, and I don't even get to make that money up that I invested in myself
Yeah.
to work for you.
That's not okay. There's nothing about that that's okay or that like sits well with me.
She got fired very, very quickly after, but I was very happy about that.
So, out of any of the jobs that you've had in the past, like, what's a job that you would never do again, even if it was like a significant amount of money? What's one job that you would just, nope, can't do it no matter what?
So I worked for a pharmaceutical company, and it was my first pharmaceutical job. I liked it, but they had me doing the work of two people, and were expecting miraculous things to happen. I was a demand manager, so it's in logistics. I understood what they were asking me to do, but the amount of work that came with being a demand manager, you needed two people there. It was impossible. She just every day on me, you're behind, you're behind, you're behind. From literally the first week. I mean, you got to give me some time to learn the job. I've never had this job before. I know
Yeah.
logistics, but I don't never had this job before. And let me tell you, pharmaceutical logistics is way different than any other logistics you'll ever
Its own
do.
little world.
And I mean, towards the end, she put me on a PIP, I think it's called,
Performance improvement plan.
performance improvement. I was there like 3 or 4 months. No, actually, I was there longer. Because I stayed almost a year.
Okay.
So I think she put me on a PIP around like month 7 or 8.
Wow.
And it was just because I just wasn't able to keep up with the amount of work. And when I tell you, I wasn't like joking around. I was taking it seriously up to a point, and then I was just like, I don't give a shit about this job. But up to a point, I was really giving it all my all. I was on at 8 o'clock, and I was working till 8 p.m. just to catch up that day's worth of work.
Yeah,
and I
that's a
wouldn't
lot.
even catch up. And the funny thing is that other managers saw me on at the time, like, why are you still on? And I'm like, oh, I'm still working.
It's getting caught up.
But she's off at 5.
Ugh.
And then she would be like, she'd log on the next day and she'd be like, where are you with this? Where are you with this? I just hated her. And the funny thing is that she left within my time period that she hired me and left. So she had really stopped training me because she was interviewing for another job. And then she didn't understand why I wasn't keeping up with the work. It's like,
so she was just hands off.
yeah, she stopped training me after like the first 2 months.
No, you need support with any new role, especially in a new field like that, for at least a year. Like a year, it's a full onboarding
I used to go
period.
to her and she'd be like, I'm in a meeting right now, or I can't talk about this right now. I'll get back to you.
Poor leadership.
And never get back. And I just hated that. And like once I got on the PIP, I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I was like,
it.
because a PIP is basically, their permission to getting rid of you.
Oh
very
yeah,
soon.
that's the first step of them.
Oh yeah. So I was like, you're gonna get rid of me. So I started looking for a job, and then I went to that smaller company for logistics, and the story was already told. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely worth leaving. At least I got paid more.
Well, that's always a benefit. So I know I'm in a healthy company now because when my company issues a PIP, it's actually to get you to do better and to hope you stay. And I've actually seen people do better on that. So it is interesting how it's framed when other companies have used it as like almost a forced exit for somebody, like setting you up for failure. There's no way you can succeed in that time. There's no way you can improve.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's basically you have one foot out the door already.
Absolutely. But, if anybody cares to share, I would love to hear some of your horror stories. I'm sure these are just light compared to what some of you may have experienced, but they're definitely memorable experiences for me. They may not seem heavy to some people, but for me, they're definitely very impactful. They were growth experiences. I've definitely learned a lot. That salon job, as crazy as it was also a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of things that we did that were really great, but it's also, you find that healthy balance, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, I think every job I've grown a little bit or take on new information. I mean, some of my earlier jobs, they were a lot of fun because I was with my friends. I
Mhm.
mean, most of the time, the jobs I had, I got there because my friends were working there already, or I was there and then I brought my friends over. And I mean, yeah, you joke around, you definitely steal money, technically because you're just
Stealing
yeah,
time.
stealing time.
Yeah, it's
Not
stealing
stealing money,
time.
maybe stealing time. You're just because you're just fooling around half the time.
Absolutely.
But I mean, at the same time, I think it's it showed me what I don't want to do,
Oh yeah.
and also showed me what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and what I have patience for. I mean, both of my parents were in education. I have no tolerance for children in education, so that's why neither myself or my brother ever went that direction.
Yeah. And I oddly enough enjoy kids, and that's why I do what I do. So
Exactly.
there's that. But on that note, I hope you all have better bosses than you once did in the past.
Absolutely.
And
But I said, share your stories with us.
yeah.
We have our email up on our Instagram. If you have some story you'd like us to talk about, or even if you just want to share, you don't want us to share on the on the show. That's great. We'd love to hear it though. But from all of us here at Don't Sneeze on Me, dropping the mic.
We out.